What happens when a man trained to feel nothing begins to dream? Before he was a commander, before he stood beneath dragonfire, before love cracked open the armor around his heart, he was a child in chains. This is the story of Grey Worm, the slave who was never meant to have a future. In the red brick slave city of Astapor, boys were not raised, they were dismantled, taken young, castrated, and conditioned. They were forced to drink the wine of courage with every meal, an elixir that deadened their nerves to pain, and with it, any capacity for feeling. To finalize their training, they were given a puppy to raise for a year, only to be forced to strangle it. A final, brutal lesson. Attachment is a weakness to be destroyed. Only 1 in 4 boys survived. Grey Worm survived, but survival came at a steep price. To erase their identities, the masters gave the boys new names every single day, drawn from a bucket of colors and vermin. But he kept one. Grey Worm was the name given to him on the day he was chosen as commander. The name he had when Daenerys freed him. The name Missandei would come to know. By keeping it, he claimed it. Imagine that. Your entire identity decided by pure superstition. The Unsullied are not just soldiers, they are obedience sculpted into flesh. They do not question commands, they do not marry, they do not pass down a legacy, they do not live for themselves. They exist only to fight. And yet, there was something the masters never understood. You can silence emotion, but you cannot fully erase the human instinct to hope. Their legend was forged in battles like Kohor, where just 3,000 Unsullied stood unbreakable against a horde of 25,000 Dothraki screamers, and one. Then she came, Daenerys Targaryen. She did not simply buy the Unsullied. She freed them for the first time in his life. Grey Worm was given a choice: stay or walk away. He stayed, and that single choice changed everything. His first test as a commander of free men came swiftly at the gates of Yunkai. He was not a slave following orders, but a general executing a strategy of liberation. He moved with the fluid, deadly grace of his training. But now there was a fire in his eyes that was not born of discipline, but of purpose. In the chaos, he saw one of his brothers fall. Without hesitation, Grey Worm shielded him, taking a blow meant for another. It was an instinct beyond training, the instinct to protect his own, and their victory was not measured in glory, but in the faces of the thousands of slaves pouring from the city gates, their eyes reflecting the dawn of a life they never thought possible. He fought not because he was told to, but because he chose to for the woman who had given him that choice. And the Unsullied, his brothers, fought beside him with a loyalty no master could ever buy. Because choice creates something dangerous. It creates ownership, it creates belief, and slowly it creates dreams. The masters of Astapor had trained the Unsullied not to desire, but then he met Missandei of Naath. She was soft-spoken, intelligent, and her spirit was free, even when she was enslaved. She didn't see Grey Worm as a weapon. She saw him as a man, and for the first time he imagined something impossible. He told her he wanted to protect her. He spoke of sailing to Naath when the war was finally over. That was his dream, not glory, not conquest, not power, just peace. A quiet life on an island of butterflies. Why did he dream of it? Because Missandei gave him something the Unsullied never had, a future tense. Before her, Grey Worm only lived in commands. After her, he began to think in terms of one day. One day we will leave. One day there will be no war. One day I will not hold a spear. For a man engineered to be present only obedienced, dreaming of tomorrow was an act of rebellion. Let's imagine for a moment. What if Missandei had lived? If she hadn't been executed in King's Landing? The war ends. Daenerys either rules peacefully, or never burns the city. Grey Worm sails with Missandei to Naath. What would his life be? He wouldn't be a farmer or a fisherman. Grey Worm doesn't know how to live without structure, but he could have become a silent guardian of the island, a trainer of local defenders, a man who watches sunsets instead of battlefields. He would still wake early out of habit. He would struggle with stillness. He might stand guard even when no enemy comes. Trauma doesn't just disappear because peace arrives, but with Missandei alive, he would not be alone in learning how to be human again. Perhaps they would adopt orphaned children of war. Perhaps he would finally choose his own name. Think about that. A man who never chose his identity, finally choosing one for himself. That could have been his true freedom. Instead, Missandei died in chains. Her final word, Draki, the perfect soldier, programmed for obedience in the unforgiving son of Astapor, or the lover who learned to dream of peace on a quiet balcony in Mira. So who was he, in the end? He was both. Every choice, to stay, to fight, to love, was a rebellion against the masters who made him nothing. But his final choice, after losing everything, was restraint. He proved he was more than his grief. He was in control, and something inside Grey Worm froze permanently. When Daenerys burned King's Landing, Grey Worm did not hesitate. He executed surrendered soldiers, not because he loved cruelty, but because grief had replaced hope. When Daenerys later died at the hands of Jon Snow, Grey Worm stood once more at a crossroads: war or restraint. And this is important. He chose not to burn the world down, even after losing everything. That choice proves something powerful. Despite Astapor, despite slavery, despite war, he was still capable of control, still capable of choosing. Grey Worm was never meant to have dreams, but he did. He dreamed of a peaceful shore, a life without commands, and a future beside the woman who saw his humanity. And maybe that's what makes his story so tragic. Grey Worm's story is one of countless written in the margins of history. Whose quiet tragedy or unsung triumph should we explore next? Share their story in the comments, and subscribe to keep these legends alive. Because the cruelest thing the world did to Grey Worm was not to enslave him. It was letting him taste freedom, letting him imagine happiness, and then taking it all away. In a world of dragons and kings, his story didn't end in tragedy. He sailed to Naath, Missandei's home, to protect her people and honor her memory. The man who was never meant to dream found a new purpose, not for a queen, but for love. If you were moved by Grey Worm's journey, subscribe for more untold stories from the world of ice and fire, and let us know in the comments which character's tragedy or triumph we should explore next.